Hey Will, I just got back from doing like a mini grocery trip, and so I thought I'd do that plus a little talk about how do you survive if you suddenly run short in the Philippines and you're an expat, so you're a foreigner and you got to somehow survive, you got to eat. And so we are in a situation at the moment which is very appropriate for this kind of talk, but I'll only touch on that a little bit later, because what I wanted to do was the groceries. But it ties in with not having too much money to spend. So how do you live? How do you eat? How do you survive? Now, we obviously are viewed as being extremely rich because we live in a big house and we have a big project next door which looks like a house that's, it looks like a house from the outside, 3 times bigger than the one that we're living in. And as you can see, this is quite a spacious house. So what has the groceries, what surprises has the groceries brought? And I can feel the suspense and the excitement mounting as I begin this video about groceries. So anyway, and I see my wife is in the background there, and she'll come and probably hijack the video. Yes, dear. What?
What did you buy? What did you buy?
You look as if you've just been asleep.
Yeah.
And now?
Well,
I'll still do the video and probably be interrupted all the time, but just ignore it. Here we go. So, now this time I didn't get a box because I went to the wrong cashier, and if you go to the wrong cashier, if it's one of those situations where it would be awkward for them to do a box, you don't get a box. So, I've got my Go Green bag, which is a load of BS, as we know. Well, I think so anyway. So I've got a bag, and what have I got? I suspect this will be what's called the dirty, or the unhygienic, or the non... I think that was the soap you asked for, wasn't it? Irish Spring.
I like this one because it's, you don't need to put deodorant on your armpit.
You have smelly armpits?
No, because
oh my God, I didn't know.
If you're walking and then you got a lot of sweats.
A lot of sweat.
You know, some sweat, some
I hadn't intended that this would be a XXX video. What?
Sweats, like this one, some water.
Darling, I speak English. I know what sweat is.
So this is, I recommend this. This is a very good.
Right. So,
I told you bring up my dear.
I told you should interrupt. By my dear's specific request, I get this keratin. Whether it's any good or not, I don't know. And so
I like keratin because you don't need the cream silk, and this one is really like you got an oil in your hair.
Slightly
so I
oil on your
recommend
hair.
that keratin.
Right. Serve some little washing powder. Now I know that if you're used to going to Costco, you'll probably be coming out with a bag of, or a box of washing powder that's as big as this, enough to last a Filipino family probably the rest of their lives. But we don't do that, we buy them, everything is in these little sachets. Look at this little sachet here, and these are 3 little sachets. Look at this.
In America, darling, did you buy in sachet?
Can you buy that particular brand?
No, I mean, can you buy some shampoo in sachet?
Not like this.
So different. Same world, different procedure.
Same planet, different world.
Yes.
Okay. I couldn't get non-anodized salt, and I had to look. This is a strange thing when you go shopping here, is that they'll have shelves and shelves and shelves on top of each other down to the floor, with everything that says condiments. But salt they keep over there with the rice. Don't ask me why. I wish I'd be a very rich man if I could answer questions like that. So, anyway, salt, and also a cleaner for the windows and for the table, stuff like that. So put that over there.
There's something nice there to eat, darling.
Is there something nice to eat? There's an apple. Of course, you would consider that that was being poisoned, wouldn't you? Apples, a lot of fruit, and stuff like apples. You wouldn't be caught dead, would you, eating an apple?
Why is it they said apples a day makes your doctor away?
Well, it doesn't say make your doctor away.
What does it
Oh, and
say?
it doesn't say has your
Apple
doctor
away makes your doctors away.
That brings me to one of the things that has created such a whole avalanche of comments about whether an expat should provide support for the extended family. And the trouble is that my dear, she is in charge of the titles. And I always tell her, why don't you just check with me about the grammar and the placement of words?
Correct.
But you don't, do you?
I did, because I think I'm right.
We're not going to go into that. That would be a whole series of other videos. But anyway, instead of... So what she titled the video about an expat supporting his extended family, she said a foreigner should provide support. Instead of putting should a foreigner provide support.
Darling, there's a question mark there. It means can be right, can be wrong. Right? So it's up to you how you're going to, what do you call it, understand it.
Well, it's not that I'm great at English, but I have been speaking it for a number of years, and should be at the front of the question. It should be at the front of the question, not should it be at the front of the question. It should be at the front of the question.
As the important is there's a question mark. Okay?
Yes, dear.
Yes, baby.
Yes, of course it is. Yes, of course.
I'm gonna pee now. What?
You're going to pee?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. and off you go.
Do you
Well, I
have
do
some
the rest
grapes?
of it.
Do you
What?
have some grapes?
Do I have some grapes? No, the grapes stayed in the fridge and went like little balls of God knows what. You didn't eat them.
Correct.
Right, so don't take this, go off and do what you have to do. So the title should have been, should a foreigner provide the support? And it wasn't. But as you can see, Beth was right. I'm only a husband, remember that. So, back to a couple of things. I got honey because I like to have it in my tea. And this will have everybody howling. I got some pancit noodles, even though I've been told that I shouldn't actually be eating them. So, there's a couple of onions, and the onions, so there's 4 small red onions, and they were 46 each. So, what is it? 11 something an onion. Doesn't seem so bad. Actually, it doesn't seem so bad to me. Look, Eden cheese. I circled all of these, the big items, right? These are the big items. The honey, the cheese, the cleaner, and the apples. They're the big ones. And the cleaner was 156. The cheese was 144. The honey was 147. So work those out there being $8.50, something like that if you're in America, $8.50. It really doesn't seem that bad. So now you can see that we've actually not spent very much. So I've only spent 1,018 pesos. Okay, so you can work that out if you're sitting there with a calculator. I'm using my phone to do this. So why are we only getting this? This is obviously not the groceries that we're going to live on. So what we've been doing, just to explain, we've been killed by the tax being so much higher than we thought. And when we said, but our project, our big building next to the house is not finished, why would we have to pay the full tax? And the answer to that was, find the logic where you can, it has a roof on it. So the roof is on, so for some strange reason that means it's liable to the full tax. So that's been a killer. Right. Now, we run a channel and we have a considerable membership, but we don't have that many views. We have 261,000 subscribers, but we don't have 261,000 subscribers viewing and liking every video. So our pay for what we call AdSense for YouTube is not great. In terms of dollars, very, very poor. But because it translates, it converts at 56 to the dollar, it's okay. But we've had to really pull our horns in and work on a very, very tight budget. Hence, this is like this. So you don't see any meat there. You don't see any high-end other than this and the apples. You don't see anything that's over $3, okay? So how do we live? How would you live if you came here and, for instance, if they stopped your pension? Now, if that was your only source of income and they stopped your pension or pensions, and why would they do that? As just a little piece of information. Every year they send you a letter, and in the letter it has an envelope which must be used to return the form that they've sent you. So they send you a form and it says, nothing has changed if nothing's changed. Nothing in my life has changed, and I'm sending this back to you in the envelope that you sent to me, which proves that I got the letter that was officially sent. And then they take that as evidence that you are alive, and they continue to send your pension. But if for some reason that letter does not reach you, and that's very, very likely in the Philippines, because it's not the Royal Mail as it would be in the UK, and it's not the US Postal Service, which would be so far above the standard that they're able to maintain here in a postal service, as to what the difference to be just gigantic. So if you don't get that letter, you can't send the letter back confirming that you're alive. So the quickest way for them to get you to put that situation right and inform them that you're alive is when they stop your pension. So how do you manage when you don't have your pension come? And it can take 2 or 3 months to put that situation right. Now obviously they pay your back pay, you don't get deprived of that money, but it comes in a lump sum after you've been eating beans and rice for 3 months. Okay, so if anything comes up in that time that requires an emergency input of money, you've got to have made some kind of allowance for it. Now, personally, I don't trust banks when hard times hit. Now, when Odette ravaged the island of Bohol, it's no exaggeration to say that it really did ravage it. It was a catastrophe that many people have still not survived, have not recovered from. So you couldn't go to the local bank because the internet was down. Now, oh boy, do you know how much you really need the internet? Only when it goes down. So now, they wouldn't let you go and get your own money. So withdrawals in a time of real emergency or catastrophe, which could be typhoons, and they do have them here, and they have created havoc and chaos and heartache for a lot of people. So you've got to be ready for that. And the way to do that, in my mind, is to have a source of cash which is independent of the bank. So I remember when I was in Florida and they were saying, this was during a time of the real estate collapse, and they were saying that the average family was only 2 or 3 paychecks in terms of eviction. So if they didn't get 3 paychecks, if it went for 3 weeks without a paycheck, the average family was in serious trouble. Now, what would we say? Now, if for instance it would cost us 15,000 pesos, just a figure that I plucked out of the air, nothing to do with reality, 15 or 20,000 pesos, that would make it 5,000 a week, wouldn't it? 20,000 pesos is needed to be able to survive. The best thing is to imagine the worst going wrong and then prepare for that. So, to me, the most sensible, logical thing to do would be to be able to survive for, say, 2 months or 3 months. Why would you pick a number like that? Because it took 3 months for me to get my pension back. So 3 months would be a good thing. So if it's going to cost us 20,000 a month, we're going to have 60,000 set by somewhere in a hole at the bottom of the garden, sitting with somebody else, a safety deposit box, however, and now you could actually save in one of the coins like Bitcoin or Gcash or something like that. You could have money available to you there, or a credit card. But even a credit card or an ATM card would have been no good to you in an emergency. So that's the whole thing about having the reserve, which you don't touch. This is where the problem comes in. If you're married to a Filipina, the idea of having 3 months food and money to be able to live set by is so totally against how they've been brought up. Because this is what I've called a one-egg economy. On the corner, by the corner of our house over there, there's a little sari-sari store, and they have your basic survival things. They have eggs, they have baked beans for me, they have sardines, they have rice, they have all these kind of things, coffee and all of this. They have all of that. Of course, they've added a little on, so here you will be looking at a can of, where's a can? Well, Fuji apples. And for the apples it was 116. Well, if you went and bought those apples there, it would probably be 150. So that's how they eke out a very meagre little living. They earn a wage, is what they do. So you would be able to do that, but the idea to a Filipina would be quite foreign, as we are foreigners. So it's important to be able to get this point over to your partner, and that can be a very, very big challenge. I've never been able to do it with Beth, and whenever we put money by, it usually ends up getting eked out by somebody, something, and as a reserve, the idea is good, but I haven't been able to make it stick here. So you need to be able to do that. So how are we doing it? Well, as I said, we've been billed by a very big hit for us. We are what the Americans would call house poor. So yes, we have a very nice house, a lovely house, on a great deal of property. Now, that doesn't mean that we have ready cash. So this is what the Americans would call house poor. I haven't heard that expression in the UK, so I take it that it's an American expression. And they call it house poor, where you live in a big house which is worth a great deal of money, but you don't have ready cash. And that's how we are now. And so we're having to, as I say, pull our horns in and go on a very, very strict budget. So how do we do it? Well, the way that we've done it is, there is a little candelaria. If you're not familiar with that expression, it's what the Brits would call a working men's cafe, down at the bottom of the road. And this is run by Tom. Tom is a Filipino who spent a huge amount of time in America, became very American. The way that he speaks is American. And he had a successful life there. He's come here, he has a very nice house, and he has opened the cafe, the Candelaria, at the bottom of the road. So we gave it a try and we found that the food was delicious. Now today we had an late breakfast, early lunch, whichever way you want to put it. 10:30 I went down to Tom's cafe and I bought 4 dishes. 4 dishes. We had chicken, pork, soup and something else. And we obviously have a rice cooker here, so we cook the rice. We had a beautiful meal, and we do that almost every day. Now, what did that cost? The most I've ever spent at Tom's, when we bought enough to be able to have our lunch and dinner as well, the most I ever spent were 220 pesos, which is actually $4. Now work it out, $4, that means that we're having 2 meals and it's only $1 each. So every day we go down, we have a pre-cooked meal, I bring it back, have it take away, by which time Beth has everything set up and the plates are out and the utensils and the rice is cooked, and we sit down and we have a delicious meal. And it is delicious food. It's basic Filipino cooking, and if you are good with that, then it's living quite well. So that's what we do. And then in the evening we may have something very, very basic as well. A can of corned beef in with 2 or 3 eggs and served with, mixed in with the corned beef and then served with rice is a great meal for me. I can live simply. And when all of the people who watch what we do think about living the simple life, perhaps they can be forgiven for missing out one particular piece of information. And that is, when you live a simple life, things are done very simply. It should be a no-brainer, but it's not. When I posted a native, traditional Nipa house, when I posted a picture of that and said, offered the question, could you live here? A lot of people said, absolutely, could. Yes, absolutely. Some had their conditions, like it would have to have a concrete floor and running water and electricity and internet, which meant it was no longer living a simple life. So you really have to be here to know what all of these things really are. And one thing that I will say about Beth's video, where she talked about the foreigner and where should they help, with extended family? Some people say, absolutely not. No way, no way, you know. You're not going to be fooled by that, are you? And so they reveal what their viewpoint is towards helping, generally by the vehemence with which they answer the question. For me, I always felt that one of the key aspects to all of this was compassion and to be humanitarian. Now, got to say that when I came here, I was like that too. Not to quite such a degree, but I realized that Beth's mother needed support. And what was the key for me was that when I thought back to my own mother, who is long gone, I wish that I had been a better son. And so even though my mother-in-law is actually younger than I am by a few years, I feel that this is a chance for me to help. And so I do it willingly. The other thing which is key to this whole question when it comes to Beth and I is that Beth and I are not supporter and supported. She is not sitting there asking me to support her. She is by my side working hard, if not harder, if I'm really honest. And the result of what we do is how we earn our living. It's as simple as that. We work together, partners in business and partners in our marriage. And that's what holds us together along with our belief in the Creator, in the Lord, and in God. And that's very important for us. We pray going to bed at night, getting up in the morning, and before meals, and before we trust ourselves to the excitement, shall we say, of driving on a Philippine road. I'll leave it at that. Okay, so I hope that you haven't been reaching for your heart pills to steady your heart. We'll be back with another one. Bye for now. Don't forget to like and comment. It's very important that you like. Every time that you like, it really helps us, because the artificial intelligence that overlooks these things will judge us on the basis of people who like and sometimes people who comment. So, bye for now.